everyone. I hope you all are staying safe and doing great. I know the situation is not really great in our surroundings. So, to boost up the motivation level, today I'm going to share a very interesting read, Ikigai, which is written by Hector Garcia and Francis Miralles. The word Ikigai, which is indeed a very mysterious word, has originated from Okinawa, where its residence has the highest life expectancy in the world. Do you know what's your well-being? When it comes to the meaning Ikigai, we need to segregate the word into two, where Iki describes the life and Gai translates the value. Let's talk more about this interesting topic. Do you know what is your reason for being? Well, according to the Japanese, everyone has an ikigai. Some people have found their ikigai while others are still looking for it. Though the interesting fact is, our ikigai is hidden deep inside each of us, and finding it requires a patient search. Well, Ikigai stands at the crossroad of four main qualities: what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. The intersection between what you love and what you are good at is called passion, which is something which is really meaningful to you and you are willing to sacrifice for. In addition to that, what the world needs is also a vital part, as living in the society gives us the sense of belongings and purpose. Finally, what I can be rewarded for is essential to make a living out of purpose. Now that we understand what Ikigai is, let's discuss about how to find the Ikigai, the secrets and the mantras. It requires self-explorations and deep inspiration. People in Okinawa follows a very unique and simple lifestyle. Also note that Okinawa holds the first place among the world's blue zones. Here, what blue zone is, I have mentioned in my comment section. One of the secret of the centenarian in Okinawa is Moai, which means connected for life. It is customary in Okinawa to form close bonds within local communities. A Moai is an informal group of people with common interests who look out for one another. For many, serving the community becomes a part of their ikigai. The Moai has its origins in hard times, when farmers would get together to share best practices and help one another cope with meager harvests. Members of a Moai make a set monthly contribution to the group. This payment allows them to participate in meetings, dinners, games of go and shogi, which means nothing other than the Japanese chess, or whatever hobby they have in common. The funds collected by the group are used for activities, but if there is any money left over, one member, decided on a rotating basis, receives a set amount from the surplus. Well, mens sana in corpore sano. Do you know the meaning of it? Yes, the meaning is active mind and youthful body. Having a youthful mind also drives you toward a healthy lifestyle that will slow the aging process. Just as a lack of physical exercise has negative impacts in our bodies, similarly, a lack of mental exercise also affects very badly, because it causes our neurons and neural connections to deteriorate, and as a result reduces our ability to react to our surroundings. This is why it's so important to give your brain a workout. Our neurons start to age while we are still in our 20s. This process is slowed, however, by intellectual activity, curiosity, and a desire to learn. Dealing with new situations, learning something new every day, playing games, and interacting with other people seem to be essential anti-aging strategies for the mind. Furthermore, a more positive outlook in this regard will yield greater mental benefits. Are you feeling stressed by any chance due to the adverse situation outside? I can understand. Uh, we all are stressed out, irritated, bored nowadays to some extent. These days, people live at a frantic pace and in a nearly constant state of competition. Let me explain you how does stress is affecting our body. The alarm that goes off in our head makes our neurons activate the pituitary gland, which produces hormones that release corticotropin, which in turn circulates through the body via the sympathetic nervous system. The adrenal gland is then triggered to release adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline raises our respiratory rate and pulse and prepares our muscles for action, getting the body ready to react to perceived danger, while cortisol increases the release of dopamine and blood glucose, which is what gets us charged up and allows us to face challenges. These processes are in moderation beneficial. They help us overcome challenges in our daily lives. Stress has a degenerative effect over time. A sustained state of emergency affects the neurons associated with memory, as well as inhibiting the release of certain hormones, the absence of which can cause depression. Yes, it is. Its secondary effects include irritability, insomnia, anxiety, and high blood pressure. As such, though challenges are good for keeping mind and body active, we should adjust our high stress lifestyles in order to avoid the premature aging of our bodies. In the Western world, in particular, the rise in sedentary behavior has led to numerous diseases such as hypertension and obesity, which in turn affect longevity. Spending too much time to seated at work or at home not only reduces muscular and respiratory fitness but also increases appetite and curbs the desire to participate in activities. Recent studies have shown a connection between a lack of physical activity and the progressive distortion of telomeres in the immune system, which ages those cells and in turn the organism as a whole. We can access a more active lifestyle that makes us feel better inside and out. We just have to add a few ingredients to our everyday habits, like walk to work or just go on a walk for at least 20 minutes each day. Use your feet instead of an elevator or escalator. This is good for your posture, your muscles, and your respiratory system. Among other things, participate in social or leisure activities so that you don't spend too much time in front of the television or laptop. Replace your junk food with fruit and you will have less of an urge to snack and more nutrients in your system. Get the right amount of sleep. 7 to 9 hours is good, but any more than that makes us lethargic again. Play with children or pets or join a sports team. This not only strengthens the body but also stimulates the mind and boosts self-esteem. Be conscious of your daily routine in order to detect harmful habits and replace them with more positive ones. Science has shown that sleep is a key anti-aging tool because when we sleep, we generate melatonin, a hormone that occurs naturally in our bodies. The pineal gland produces it from the neurotransmitter serotonin according to our diurnal and nocturnal rhythms, and it plays a role in our sleep and waking cycles. A powerful antioxidant melatonin helps us live longer and also offers few benefits like it strengthens the immune system, it contains an element that protects against cancer, it promotes the natural production of insulin, it slows the onset of Alzheimer's disease, It helps prevent osteoporosis and fight heart disease as well. So, melatonin is a great ally in preserving youth. However, the melatonin production decreases after age 30. We can compensate for this by eating a balanced diet and getting more calcium, soaking up a moderate amount of sun each day, getting enough sleep, avoiding stress, alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine, all of which make it harder to get a good night's rest, depriving us of the melatonin we need. Do you know what logotherapy is? Viktor Frankl has developed the concept of logotherapy. In German concentration camps, as in those that would later be built in Japan and Korea, psychiatrists confirmed that the prisoners with the greatest chance of survival were those who had things they wanted to accomplish outside the camp, those who felt a strong need to get out of there alive. This was true of Frankl, who, after being released and successfully developing the school of logotherapy, realized he had been the first patient of his own practice. Well, yes, Frankl had a goal to achieve and it made him persevere. He arrived at Auschwitz carrying a manuscript that contained all the theories and research he had compiled over the course of his career, ready for publication. Let's talk about Morita therapy. In the same decade that logotherapy came into being, a few years earlier, in fact, Shoma Morita created his own purpose-centered therapy. In Japan, in addition to being a psychotherapist, Shoma Morita was a Jain Buddhist, and his therapy left a lasting spiritual mark on Japan. Morita therapy consists of 4 phases. First, isolation and rest. Duration of this phase is 5 to 7 days. During the first week of treatment, the patient rests in a room without any external stimuli. He lies down for most of the day and is visited regularly by the therapist, who tries to avoid interacting with him as much as possible. The therapist simply advises the patient to continue observing the rise and fall of his emotions as he lies there. When the patient gets bored and wants to start doing things again, he is ready to move on to the next stage of therapy. Number 2, or the second phase, is light occupational therapy. In this stage, the patient performs repetitive tasks in silence. One of these is keeping a diary about his thoughts and feelings. The patient goes outside after a week of being shut in, takes walks in nature, and does breathing exercises. He also starts doing simple activities like gardening, drawing, or painting. During this stage, the patient is still not allowed to talk to anyone except the therapist. Phase 3 is occupational therapy. In this stage, the patient performs tasks that require physical movement. Dr. Morita liked to take his patients to the mountains to chop wood. In addition to physical tasks, the patient is also immersed in other activities such as writing, painting, or making ceramics. The patient can speak with others at this stage, but only about the tasks at hand. The return to social life and the real world is a final phase of this therapy. The patient leaves the hospital and is reintroduced to social life, but maintains the practices of meditation and occupational therapy developed during treatment. The idea is to re-enter society as a new person, with a sense of purpose and without being controlled by social or emotional pressures. We have all felt our sense of time vanish when we lose ourselves in an activity we enjoy. We start cooking, and before we know it, several hours have passed. The opposite can also happen. When we have to complete a task we don't want to do, every minute feels like a lifetime, and we can't stop looking at our watch. As Einstein says, put your hand on a hot stove for a minute and it seems like an hour. Sit with a pretty girl for an hour and it seems like a minute. That's called relativity. There are few strategies to maintain your flow, and we should maintain flow in everything we do in our life. Number 1, choose a difficult task, but that should not be too difficult. If the task is easy, you may feel bored. If difficult, it may lead to anxiety. However, to maintain the flow, it should be challenging. Number 2, have a clear, concrete objective. Here, always remember that having a clear objective is important in achieving flow, but we also have to know how to leave it behind when we get down to business. Number 3, concentrate on a single task. We often think that combining tasks will save our time, but scientific evidence shows that it has the opposite effect. Even those who claim to be good at multitasking are not very productive. In fact, they are some of the least productive people. The art of Takumi. Do you know the meaning of Takumi? It means experts in a particular manual skill, whom are also called as artisans. The famous Japanese company Toyota employs artisans who are able to make a certain type of screw by hand. These takumi are extremely important to Toyota and they are hard to replace. Some of them are the only people who know how to perform their exact skill, and it doesn't seem as though a new generation is going to take up the mantle. Do you know what do Japanese artisans, engineers, Zen philosophy and cuisine have in common? Simplicity and attention to detail. Yes. It is not a lazy simplicity but a sophisticated one that searches out new frontiers, always taking the object, the body and mind, or the cuisine to the next level. As Csikszentmihalyi would say, the key is always having a meaningful challenge to overcome in order to maintain flow. Flow is mysterious. It is like a muscle. The more you train it, the more you will flow, and the closer you will be to your Ikigai. Here, I would suggest all of you to watch a very popular documentary, Zero Dreams of Sushi, which gives us another example of a takumi, this time in the kitchen. Zero, like Yukio Shakunaga, begins his work at the source. He goes to the fish market to find the best tuna. Shakunaga goes to the mountains to find the best porcelain. When they get down to work, both become one with the object they are creating. This unity with the object that they reach in a state of flow takes on special meaning in Japan, where, according to Shintoism, forests, trees, and objects have a kami, or the spirit or god, within them. These are the few suggestions set by the centenarians who have lived more than 110 years, where Misao Okawa said, "Eat and sleep and you will live a long time. You have to learn to relax also." Gian Kalman told, "Everything is fine." And Walter Bruning said, "If you keep your mind and body busy, you will be around a long time." Oh, now I'm really hungry. After so much of information, let's talk about one of the very interesting and important part of our life. Yes, it's Okinawan's diet. Or rather, I would better say Okinawan's miracle diet. A study of Okinawa's centenarians showed that they ate 206 different foods, including spices, on a regular basis. They ate an average of 18 different foods each day. They eat at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. At least 7 types of fruits and vegetables are consumed by Okinawans on a daily basis. The easiest way to check if there is enough variety on your table is to make sure you are eating the rainbow. Yes, grains are the foundation of their diet. Japanese people eat white rice every day, sometimes adding noodles. Rice is the primary food in Okinawa as well. They rarely eat sugar, and if they do, it's cane sugar. In addition to these basic dietary principles, Okinawans eat fish an average of 3 times per week. Unlike in other parts of Japan, the most frequently consumed meat is pork, though locals eat it only once or twice per week. They do believe in hara hachibu, which is one of the ancient concepts in Japan, which means 80% rule. The 12th century book on Zen Buddhism, Zazen Yozinki, recommends eating 2/3 as much as you might want to. One easy way to start applying the concept of hara hachibu is to skip dessert or to reduce portion size. The idea is to still be a little bit hungry when you finish. This is why portion size tends to be much smaller in Japan than in the West. Food is not served as appetizers, main courses, and dessert. Instead, it's much more common to see everything presented at once on small plates. Studies from the blue zones suggest that the people who live longest are not the ones who do the most exercise, but rather the ones who move the most. The people aged more than 80 lives in Okinawa do not stay at home looking at the window, rather they walk a lot, do karaoke with their neighbors, get up early in the morning, and as soon as they have had breakfast or even before, head outside to weed their gardens. They don't go to the gym or exercise intensely, but they almost never stop moving in the course of their daily routines. Please note that metabolism slows down 90% after 30 minutes of sitting. Yes, it sounds really dangerous. The enzymes that move the bad fat from your arteries to your muscles where it can get burned off slow down. And after 2 hours, good cholesterol drops 20%. Just getting up for 5 minutes is going to get things going again. If we live in a city, we might find it hard to move in natural and healthy ways every day. But we can turn to exercises that have proven for centuries to be good for the body. The exercise which the Japanese people follows mostly are radio taiso, which is a very interesting part. This morning warm-up has been around since before World War II. The radio part of its name is from when the instructions for each exercises were transmitted over the radio. But today, people usually do these movements while tuned to a television channel or internet video demonstrating these tips. One of the main purposes of doing radio taiso is to promote a spirit of unity among participants. Next is yoga, popular in Japan as well as in the West. Yoga comes from India, where it was developed millennia ago to unite our mental and physical elements. The word yoga itself comes from the Sanskrit term for yoke, which refers to the crosspiece that binds draft animals to one another and to the cord they're pulling. Yoga strives to unite body and mind in the same way, guiding us toward a healthy lifestyle in harmony with the world around us. The other one is the sun salutation. It is one of the most iconic exercises in Hatha Yoga. It comprises of 12 basic movements. Well, we have come across a long journey in search of Ikigai, And we reached at the end where we need to know what is resilience. Resilience is our ability to deal with setbacks. The more resilient we are, the easier it will be to pick ourselves up and get back to what gives meaning to our lives. Resilient people know how to stay focused on their objectives, on what matters, without giving in to discouragement. Their flexibility is the source of their strength. They know how to adapt to change and to reversals of fortune. Wabi sabi is a Japanese concept that shows us the beauty of the fleeting, changeable, and imperfect nature of the world around us. Instead of searching for beauty in perfection, we should look for it in things that are flawed, incomplete. This is why the Japanese place such a value, for example, on an irregular or cracked teacup. Only things that are imperfect, incomplete, and ephemeral can truly be beautiful because only those things resemble the natural world. A complementary Japanese concept is that of ichigo ichi, which could be translated as this moment exists only now and won't come again. It is heard most often in social gatherings as a reminder that each encounter, whether with friends, family, or strangers, is unique and will never be repeated. Meaning that we should enjoy the moment and not lose ourselves in worries about the past or the future. Thanks for watching my video. Do like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, stay healthy.